On this episode of Athletic Training Chat, we get a very unique look at athletic training overseas. We talk to Caleb Lott and Jared Maisel, who are both athletic trainers that have worked in Asia. Caleb is still there. Jared has since moved to Brussels, but we talk all about their experience in just getting started over there, what's kept them over there, how that all works. It was fascinating to me. I know a few people that have gone overseas for short term contracts and done different things, but in both of their cases, they've been over there for years and have families, and just is really cool to hear the experiences and what opportunities lie out there if that's something that interests you. It sounds like it's ever growing with a lot more opportunities coming. So something definitely to check out. And if you're interested in international anything, this is the episode to check that out to get some more insight. As always, we are powered by Mueller Sports Medicine. They come up in this conversation as well in the creation of APATS and supporting these athletic trainers over there. Obviously, they do a ton for us, and we really appreciate that. Continue to check them out, throw out ideas to them. They've got a lot of new innovative things coming down the line that can be really beneficial to you and what you do as an athletic trainer. Without further ado, please enjoy this episode. Well, welcome to this episode of Athletic Training Chat. We are on with Caleb Lott and Jared Maisel. They're both part of the APATS group, which we are going to talk about. We are doing this through, just saying 3 different time zones doesn't really do it justice. I think it's 5 a.m. where I am, about noon where Jared is, and about 6 o'clock in the evening where Caleb is. So we're really covering the whole span of everything, having this conversation. But we have them on today to talk about what APATS is, how it got started, and just really hear about some of the experiences that they've had. We have had a couple people talk about international. One really early episode about a colleague that went over to China as part of the 2-year contracts that had started a few years ago. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess now, and his experience. And we'll hear from them both. But before we get into it, I'm going to turn it over to, we'll start with Caleb to just give a little bit of background on his career, and then we'll have Jared do the same, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, first off, appreciate you having us on, and also appreciate Jared being included in these conversations. So yeah, I'm originally from the I guess the southeast, kind of the western parts of North Carolina. Prior to coming overseas back in 2012 was when I first kind of made that jump. I did some undergrad at Mars Hill University, and I was there for 4 years, and then I jumped down to University of South Carolina, did a GA down there. I was down there for 3 years doing my GA. I worked in a variety of awesome settings down there, a really good multidisciplinary experience. And then through that, I had an opportunity to kind of springboard over to China to take a little internship with this outreach company that was doing some sports medicine services to the international community. And I did that for a year, enjoyed it, kind of opened up my eyes to everything, went back to the States, and started working at, that was like, I guess, my first full-time employment job where I was pulling in a check and seeing all that, I guess, hard work pay off over the years. And then quickly realized this little internship, like a year prior, kind of blossomed into a full-time role, and put my name in the pot and applied for the job. And next thing you know, I was on a plane with my newlywed wife out to China. And I was at Shanghai American School for uh, 8 years when it was all said and done, and was their athletic trainer, and enjoyed that experience. And then my next employment opportunity was at Taipei American School, which is where I'm at right now. And I work with two other athletic trainers right now. So we have a sports medicine team here with three full-time athletic trainers serving a K through 12 school in Taipei, Taiwan. So it's a quick little rundown of kind of where I've been and where I'm at right now. But I'll hand it over to Jared now.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Joel. Similarly to Caleb, I got started in Shanghai, China, through a internship route. Previous to that, I'm originally from New Jersey, and I did undergrad at Westchester University in Pennsylvania, and then grad assistantship at the University of Georgia, and then worked a little bit in college in New York for a couple of years, and then the internship opportunity came up, and a 10-month internship turned into 4 years in Shanghai, China. Similar to Caleb as well, the international school that I was working at, which is the main focus of our experience internationally, is the international school setting. The internship contracted role turned into a full-time role. So after 2 years of this internship part-time role, it evolved into a full-time direct employment role. So after 4 years in Shanghai, China, I met my future wife at the international school, and a new opportunity came up in Brussels, Belgium. And so that's where I've been now currently for nearly the last 4 years, just starting a new role at an international school here at the International School of Brussels here in Belgium. And yep, that kind of summarizes that.
So many questions about just your experience and whatnot, but I don't want to get too far into those yet. We'll save those for just a minute. But talking about APATS, I think that was going to be kind of a lot of the focus. So I want to make sure we start there. How did that all come to be? Just from the email chains, you two were on the ground of building and creating that. So could give a little bit more backstory on that and what its purpose is and how it's continued to grow and just help with the profession overseas.
Yeah, I can. I'll get started, and Caleb can fill in, please. Well, APATS is the Asia Pacific Athletic Trainer Society. You can visit us at apats.org. And it's been started in Shanghai, China in about the year 2019, 2020, somewhere around. And it really got off the ground thanks to Mueller Sports Medicine. Was the key facilitator of this. The athlete at that point in time, there was a handful of athletic trainers mainly in China, in mainland China, but some in Hong Kong and Japan, a few other here and there places in the region. And Mueller Sports Medicine decided to get us all together to meet and have some conversations as in a pure social event, that being scattered and not really knowing everyone, a chance to meet face to face. And from those conversations that we met in Shanghai, we just had some drinks, some dinner. From those initial conversations, we decided to form our own professional society. With the main purpose of providing professional development in the region for us, because CEUs was quite difficult and there wasn't a lot of online learning opportunities as there is now in the pandemic world. So that was the main intent, but it kind of blossomed into this grassroots of setting up some foundational policy, some collaboration, best practices, because it is a very unique environment being in another country, and specifically, like I've said, our most common setting for the APATS group is the international school setting, which is quite different than a US based K through 12 environment. So from there, we started to really just engage with athletic trainers in the region, promote, create awareness about the athletic training profession, starting these these professional development opportunities, and then starting to jot down, some organizational constitution, decorum type of things.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and to kind of piggyback off of Jared, we just realized that hey, there's a group of like-minded people overseas, happens to be in the same country. We're learning about each other, we're connecting, and let's just kind of pull our efforts together and support each other, not just professionally, but socially as well. And you kind of have a sense. You're on an island at sometimes overseas, and when you have people you can lean on, and you have this professional learning community, it makes good times even better, and then challenging times, a little bit easier to cope with. And so it's really just to kind of pull everyone together and put your arm around some people sometimes, and just let them know that hey, you're not over here by yourself, and we're just going to kind of share wealth and help each other out. So that's kind of where it all started from. And like Jared was saying, Mueller was a huge supporter of us actually getting together and being funded to do something, and so they're huge contributors of I think where we are right now. So hats off to them. So yeah, we couldn't be more thankful for them. And people come, people go, but hopefully that some people will stay involved in APATS, and this society will continue to support others.
It's funny how that comes full circle. Mueller, obviously, if you guys haven't seen it, is a partner for the podcast. And I've gotten to know them really well by getting to know Gertrude really well. Traveled with her a couple times over to India and Sri Lanka and a couple other places in Malaysia to do some speaking. And I remember hearing these conversations about trying to get everybody together over there and making that all happen. So it's kind of cool to hear it come full circle in that regard. This next question, kind of a two-parter. One, just to give a little bit more context, if before we get into the full question, if we could define what an international school is. I think I generally have the context of what it is, but if you guys could, from your perspective, both from where you've been and where you are currently, but how, the main question is, how have you guys been received as athletic trainers in your setting, in that K through 12 setting, which I know is what we're focusing on. The previous colleague I talked to was doing some of the stuff with the Olympic team and one of the sports there, and just noted it was a little bit of a struggle to try and integrate themselves into the sports medicine team because it was new and it was different, and there was just a lot of legwork to be done there. So I'd be curious to your guys' experience and how that's gone. Obviously, you've been over there for a while, so I'm going to guess it's gone fairly well. But if you could give just a little bit of a definition on what an international school is and how that maybe differs a little bit, and then talk about how well athletic training and you guys specifically have been integrated in and received.
Yeah, so an international school, right, is basically for the most part a K through 12 school, like you would have in the United States. And the students that go to these international schools come from a variety of backgrounds, cultural, ethnic backgrounds, that happen to live in the city where your international school might be located. And oftentimes these schools offer a Western-based education that adopt standards from the American system or the European system. So it's basically like taking a school and just like taking an American school and then just transplanting it in an international country. And oftentimes these teachers who are teaching students are from all over the world. It just really happens to be where you're located. Like Jared's school right now probably has much more teachers and students from the European region versus my school. We have a lot of American teachers, a lot of New Zealand teachers even. And our students are probably about 85%, give or take, Taiwanese, and the rest of the 15% are from America or other parts of the world. Whereas like my school and probably Jared's school in Shanghai, where we crossed paths, the populations were a little bit, I think, more diverse. But those change as the economics change while we were both there. So that's kind of like an international school in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
And the services that we provide, primarily in the secondary setting, middle school and up into high school, we perform the same duties and responsibilities as we would if we were to work in a school back in the United States in any part. We just happen to see sometimes some elementary school students based upon need that might be a little unique from something back home. But I do realize that there are some private schools in the States where it could be K through 12, and that athletic trainer might be responsible for some elementary needs as well. But I think our roles here are the same as they would be back in the States. We offer a lot of sports similar to back in the States, beyond American football. I don't know, Jared might have American football over in Belgium. Yeah, you
Yeah,
do.
we do.
Yeah.
Nice.
Whereas rugby is a sport that I have learned to appreciate and trying to learn the rules. So that's our main contact sport. But we also have some unique sports as well. Table tennis was a sport at my old school. Badminton, we have badminton teams. We have some sports that may be a little bit more common in this area, but I think in the end, a student who graduates from these international schools, a student athlete that goes on to play in at colleges or universities even too, they are set up for success, to excel and to be accepted into a lot of high academic achieving schools. A lot of our graduates go on to schools in the United States. I imagine a lot of the graduates from Jared's school go on to all over the world. Jared, what am I missing on the international school and the uniqueness of everything?
So every school is going to be different. Every location is different. Every country is different. And the resources in each city or each town or each country that these schools are located in and its population is going to be different. Some schools cater to specifically British curriculum, some North American, Canadian, American, whatever it may be, or any other nationality in the world. There could be country-specific international schools in a particular location. And so as far as like injuries in sports medicine and treatment, the services are going to be different. When Caleb and I got started in Shanghai, there was only a handful of Western trained orthopedic specialists in a city of 25 million. There was only a handful. I'm sure there was excellent Chinese doctors, orthopedic specialists, but our expatriate population want providers that they can easily communicate with, that they have similar expectations that they may be accustomed to in services. So one of our duties is to help facilitate those, whether it's in Shanghai or in Taipei or in Brussels. And so one thing that I'm finding is that sometimes we have an excellent healthcare system here in Brussels and in Belgium. The socialized system is excellent, but sometimes people are just a little hesitant to make appointments that may be 2 or 3 weeks down the road if they're not really necessary. So that's where I feel a big part of what I do comes in, is that help facilitating and expediting that when possible through the relationships with physical therapists, or even other similar professions here unique to kine is another term that goes around, and any doctors that are a particular specialty, kind of rule in, rule out, does this need to be seen or not.
appreciate that background on it. Um, so overall, it sounds like you guys integrated as athletic trainers to these extremely well. You're well received because it's familiar. If obviously your skill set is beneficial to what people are, doing in terms of when it comes to sports and activity over there.
Getting started is an initial challenge, and initially founding the position and educating. That's something I'm relatively
Absolutely.
new, still new here to Brussels. So that's something in my community. My school is about 1,500 students, about more like 1,400. But educating, we have a big student athlete population. Nearly all of our high school competes in athletics. So a lot of athletes I work with. And continuous education on what we as a profession do. But that's something that we continuously do in the US too.
Yeah, I mean, like athletic trainers, right? Where they come from, America. Where do international athletic trainers, where they first get the start is at these Americanized international schools. For example, my former school was Shanghai American School. We had an East Campus and a West Campus. Jared's school, Concordia International School in Shanghai, was a more or less adopted an American curriculum, right? There was a school down in Guangzhou, the American International School of Guangzhou. That school as well was an American school, and so these positions were familiar to what student athletes would receive in the States. And next thing you know, their parents have opportunities to go overseas, and guess what? There's sports, and the inherent risk of sports are injuries. And so, there was, you know, there was a need that I guess could be filled, and athletic trainers eventually stepped into these schools. The schools immediately saw the value and kind of took on with it, and kind of dissolved and stepped away from that internship model, and decided to make full times out of these.
And with my final point, what I would say is that I've in my experiences, I've received nothing but genuine appreciation. Once they are aware of what we can do, and that they may be in a different country, and just someone that's the middle person to point them in the right direction, rule things in, rule things out, is greatly appreciated.
Awesome. I think you guys kind of answered this next one, but just to get more specific, and we'll start maybe with Caleb on this one. Kind of the biggest reward in working overseas, and then also one of your biggest challenges that you've come across.
Yeah, rewards and challenges. Well, those are always happening. But I think the reward of working overseas is when you're at these schools, really feeling like you're a part of something bigger than yourself, and knowing that you're making a difference, because people, whether that be parents, administrators, student athletes, they're telling you this, like, oh wow, I didn't know you did that, or yeah, thanks. And it's really, like Jared was saying, a very genuine appreciation. And I think also a good reward is knowing that I think we're blazing trails maybe for others to succeed, like after we're gone, right? And just knowing that in these positions, a byproduct, a reward of it is a great, phenomenal work-life balance. Uh, and there's a high return on worth and how we are valued in these communities. I think the salaries are the most competitive that I'll ever experience. And I'm looking at, like, I have two children. I have a kindergartner and a 2-year-old. Both of them were born overseas. And so a reward for me working overseas is allowing them to have an opportunity to attend a school to receive a phenomenal educational experience, at least in the formative years. Um, and this quality educational experience that they will have access to, I think, is unparalleled to anything that I've ever noticed. and there's just wonderful opportunities of just living overseas, experiencing the rewards of trying new cuisine, you know, varieties of culture, you know, learning histories of things. I mean, America is young compared to the rest of the world, right? And so it's a reward is just, I think, being uh, in a stimulating environment where something new can happen literally every day. And there are a lot of original moments, and I think lasting memories can often happen through these. And so that's just a very cool reward to experience. And I think challenges, right? So the biggest challenges are being 24 hours door to door away from loved ones back home. Um, that's a challenge, and then language barriers, I think, is where I should speak more Mandarin than my years of experience in a Mandarin speaking country. But I think that just kind of, those are the top challenges and rewards that I can think of. Jerry, what about you?
In pursuing an international opportunity, I would strongly encourage them to go down every path and road to try to make that happen for themselves. Like I mentioned before, educating the community on the athletic training profession continues to be quite a challenge, and doing those first initial steps and figuring out in whatever role you take on, how to do it, what to do, how to show value for yourself. Is quite a challenge to get going, and it can take some time. And also the challenge of kind of letting things go out of our control that we may be traditionally used to in the US about, you know, overseeing our athletes or our responsibilities and our role, that there is sometimes gray area, and that there is sometimes you know, you're building the plane as you're flying it, in your roles and responsibilities. So that, of course, can is something that I continuously try to, you know, work on. But it's so worth it to, like I mentioned, when you establish the position of an athletic trainer in an organization that has never seen that before, it can be very rewarding, you know, personally and professionally, that the students, the teachers, the administrators, the athletic directors, they are all very, very appreciative. And one thing that I, in the same vein as that, that I've been finding rewarding for myself is just educating on youth sports, sports safety initiatives, just educating people about concussions, pre-participation physicals, providing resources on that. One thing that Caleb, myself, and APATS as an organization want to really improve the student athlete safety experience in these international school setting. There's over 10,000 international schools around the world. And in for the American government actually has their own series, their own international school community called DODEA, Department of Defense Education Activities organization, where there's several hundred. I think around 150 of these international schools. And I have there's a colleague here in Belgium, Ellie, that is educating that organization on what an athletic trainer can do for their unique industry, their unique setting. But just trying to step up the game and inform, educate, create some buzz, create some awareness about the athletic training profession, and also, you know, just helping keep kids safe. We want kids to have a great athletic and educational experience. So collaborating with the international school colleagues to help promote these sorts of things has been very rewarding for myself.
Awesome. I'm going to amend some of these AT chat questions just a little bit to fit you guys and what your experiences are in your current setting. But first question, and we'll do these for both of you, is internationally, where do you see athletic training going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Great question. I mean, internationally, I definitely see it growing in the international school setting. I realize that COVID has kind of put some things on pause, but I think we're all moving out of this. And in 10 years, I would expect to see exponential growth. Uh, just looking at my old sports conference that I was in, it seemed like every year there was a school investing in this position for their community. And so that was really, really good to see. And I think through the growth comes with exposure. And so, how can we expose all these other schools to our position is, I think, the key to make that happen. But I'm even going to go domestic too, right? I know this is more of an international conversation, but I don't want to forget about the people back home doing good work, especially in the secondary setting and all over. But I hope to see every student athlete in the secondary school setting and their families really. The ones who are taking on these risks of participating in interscholastic sports with very good rewards of participating in those to have immediate access and appropriate medical care through the hands of a certified athletic trainer. And I wonder if all publicly funded secondary schools in the U.S. that don't have a certified athletic trainer, I wonder if that's a huge missed opportunity. And I think some legislation should be help driving the force of that. You look at some states that are, well ahead of that, of making sure every secondary school has an athletic trainer, and you look at some that aren't, and that's okay. But how can we get there? And so I think that's where we should see athletic trainers in the profession in 10 years domestically and internationally. I expect to see growth too. I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what happens and from here. Jared, what do you think as far as internationally? Where do you see things going?
Yeah, I see continued growth. I mean, if you just look at the last 5 years or so, the number of athletic training roles that has increased. From my time when I got started in China, there was half a dozen, and then now in that region, it's gone up 4 or 5 times fold. And in some conferences, some athletic conferences are taking initiatives and steps to mandate that all the schools within the conference have an athletic trainer. That's something that they're working on. However, obviously, COVID has really profoundly affected the international school industry. I think it will bounce back. I'm very positive about that. But I think we're in a unique position where we're going to start to see some cycling of students that Caleb, myself, and all our other APATS colleagues, a lot of us are starting initiatives at our schools promoting the profession of athletic training and other sports medicine professionals within our own international school setting. So, for example, I had a program in Shanghai, China, and I just got a very nice email from a South African student that she is just finishing her undergrad in AT in the US, and she has just been accepted a grad assistantship. And so we have a South African student that was educated internationally in Shanghai, China, now bringing those cultural competency, those language skills, bringing it to the US, going through our AT system in the US, and then potentially moving back abroad to wherever she would like to be next, or stay in the US. But in order for our profession to grow, I think we need to groom that sort of paradigm where we are bringing in international people into the profession, so that they bring the profession back to potentially their home country or a third country, wherever they would like to be. And that we'll see some growth and excitement and engagement about the athletic training profession in all sorts of different countries. And it seems with the excellent work of WFAT, the World Federation of Athletic Training and Therapy, they are working to establish that as well. So we're seeing more and more countries starting their own professional organizations that are very similar to athletic training. They may have a different title, but they're they're still colleagues, and they're still our collegial brothers and sisters. But I think we're going to be heading nothing down towards that road, and I would strongly encourage all universities in the U.S. For study abroad opportunities, for graduate assistantships, to really try to pull in international school students, because it'll just continue to progress.
What advice would you give yourself if you could go back to the start of your time working internationally?
My key, I thought about that, and I think my main points is I from my my younger years to, I guess, my more middle years now, I guess, just be patient, and things take time, and just have a long-term plan or a long-term goal, and just be satisfied, even if you're making small progress, be satisfied. But technically in international school setting is that you need to diversify. You need to be able to do a number of different things outside of just your specific role as an athletic trainer, whether it be teaching, whether it be strength and conditioning, or it be health and safety, more administrative, or even an athletic director, whatever someone else's, but besides their primary passion of athletic training or primary interest of athletic training, wherever those secondary interests lie, to pursue those and to diversify, to make yourself more marketable, and to fill different gaps that these organizations may have.
Yeah, I would probably say, gosh, how can I show value by being here? Because that is, and that may come in all types of ways, right? But let that be a guiding question. Is like, how can I show value where I'm at, and what are we going to do to show that value, and how do you know you are making a difference? So I'm just trying to think of, because hey, numbers inform decisions, and administrators at schools, they like to know numbers. They like to see data. They like to see that stuff. And that can help drive decision making. And so by answering that question, if I'm young, going back, looking at that being like an overarching question of things that we're doing, because that's when you're able to reflect and to grow from that. So that's what I might give myself as a young athletic trainer. And also total support. Gosh, these international school settings, it's unique to things back home because it's a community. And I know we've all seen schools back home on movies. We've experienced them in person. It's a community feel, but then sometimes there's a little bit of separation, and that's okay too. But at these international settings, oftentimes the school brings the people in the community closer, and those work colleagues might become that that friend family. And the parents, you just nurture great relationships with them, and just saying yes to opportunities, even though they might be a little unconventional at first. And total support, investing in initiatives that are going on at the school, leaning in and being the first follower to help lead an initiative. And then next thing you know, you have a movement going, and there's some great things being done at the school. And sure, we might not agree, but if we can give that total support, it's going to come back around, and it's going to help us when we need to accomplish some things that can definitely make a difference. So yeah, some total support, and just seeing how we can show our value.
I like it. We'll go back to you on this one, Caleb. What is the most influential resource that you have found?
I would say the APATS colleagues, really. That has been an influential resource of me being an international athletic trainer. Yeah, sure, we can hop on NATA, we can hop on MedBridge, we can take a Con-Ed course, and those are great. And those are influential, but I think overseas, being able to lean on some relationships through meeting people at APATS has been very influential while internationally, and it's been a stimulating professional development opportunity because through conversations you get to talking and you get ideas, and you share setbacks, you share struggles and challenges, and I think the colleagues developed over here, while they might not know it, I think they've been quite influential in making me think around the box, and through that, just I think continuing growing and reflecting, really, that's been a great resource. I'm thankful to get to know Jared through APATS, and then our time in Shanghai has been good, and it's great to see him go off to other places and do great things there.
Yeah, I would say probably the number one resource is the colleagues, connecting with other athletic trainers just in the region. I'm pretty connected with an athletic trainer in England, another one in Germany, and even non-AT similar professionals, a few physical therapists here in Brussels, just to professionally check in on things and bounce ideas off each other, keep each other motivated, keep each other on our toes, and then just confiding in each other of, we're outside of our home country for quite a bit of time, and just to connect on those things. But I strongly recommend that all athletic trainers, continue to stay in touch with all the people that have made an impact in their lives, their old professors, their old preceptors, old coaches, athletic directors, because in the international school network and internationally, just being abroad, it's a smaller field than you would think, and odds are someone knows each other. And so if you want to create good opportunities for yourself, you should definitely keep in touch with all the people that have helped you, got you to where you are as an athletic trainer.
Definitely. Jared, we'll go back to you on this one. As an AT in your role, how do you take care of yourself?
Oh, that's easy. Internationally, it's honestly a blessing to be abroad and to be in a place that's so different than your home country. Just going outside and here in Brussels, it's a French-speaking city here. Belgium is actually a trilingual country, Dutch, French, and German. So just to be in a place where you can't speak or communicate, I'm doing my best to. I'm kind of beginner intermediate French at this point, but just it's so refreshing to be in the middle of somewhere you don't speak the language, and then just have these great cultural experiences, these historical experiences traveling. I just got back from Trier, Germany. I was in beautiful Moselle wine country. That's great self-care.
Fair. I like it.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, Taipei is great. Taiwan is known as Formosa Island. It's just beautiful flora, fauna, great things going on here. I was in a dilemma on Sunday. The weather didn't shape out to the forecast like we had wanted, and we were planning on going to the beach, but we ended up in the mountains. So just being able to have that, I guess, mountain and sea experience. And I think practicing self-care is important for us ATs, no matter where we are in the world. There's a lot of hours, there's a lot of commitments and responsibilities, but we invest so much time in taking care of others. It's important to remember to take care of ourselves every once in a while too. And exercising and going on adventures, that definitely fills me up, and I'll be surprised if it didn't do the same for some others.
Definitely. I am jealous of the breadth of experiences you guys have so close to you. That is fantastic. Caleb, back to you on this one. If you could change or eliminate one thing, could be a modality, a common practice, a mindset, or anything of your choosing in the field of athletic training, what would it be?
Yeah. I would probably say the AT nomenclature, really. Athletic trainer. I might be ruffling the roost here a little bit, but internationally, our current BOC name, I think, does not help promote the profession, in my opinion. I realize and I appreciate the BOC's purpose to protect the public, and I guess through this standardized credentialing service. And I think it starts with education, right? And this education can be, I think, brought up by better brand awareness, through some identity. And identity can be a huge part of a lot of successes from businesses, but even through professions where you might want to be respected differently. Uh, and our identity, through nomenclature, I think, can be improved a little bit, because I wonder how some people's first impression perceives athletic trainer, especially internationally. And I think overseas it's maybe even more misunderstood. And there's been a lot of great work by a lot of wonderful people in the US. And a lot of things are almost like, oh, it's too late to turn around. But um, the strategic alliance with the BOC, the NATA Foundation, the NATA, and Katie, right? That strategic alliance really talks about promoting worldwide growth. And I think they help achieve this. Brand identity will help contribute to that, providing clarity. And this might automatically create a little bit of professionalism in how we are perceived in general by the global public. And so I'm not saying, oh, we need to change our name. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'd like to maybe see a change from us not talking about it, to, hey, let's begin to have some dialogue again, and to start to learn more on both sides of that, and maybe some risk and some benefits with that. So I think I'd like to see us just talking about it.
I think that's the first time that's come up, so I appreciate you for bringing that up as an answer to that question. Jared?
And hopefully not ruffling too many feathers, but I would 100% agree. If we want to be at the international table, if we want to be the premier rehabilitative sports medicine service, we have to be in line with the nomenclature of that, and that is the word therapy, physical therapy, physiotherapy, kinesiotherapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. If we want to be at that table, I don't think there's any way going around that hurdle. So yeah, I would agree absolutely. So, but I'll let Caleb can fall on that sword. That for me, just personal practice. I don't know why. I know it's essential. It's so important. Documentation, but I hate doing it. I can't get over it. I don't know. I wish I could. Maybe I need to get like one of those recorders and just have it, just talk it out, and it types it for you. So that personal practice, that's me. As a profession, I'll fall on a different sword. Is that I wish our education model hadn't changed. I wish I personally, the value of a graduate assistantship where you can walk away with years of experience as a certified athletic trainer and out of being able to be debt-free afterwards, me personally, invaluable experience. And I think for us internationally, we need people to take risks. We need people to be able to say, you know what, I want to go to Vietnam, I want to go to India, pack up my bags and leave and see what happens, try some things out and see what I can do internationally for athletic training. And to put in our unfortunate current university education model that, people go significantly in debt for that degree, it limits people taking risk. So internationally, I could see it being an issue. that, people are not going to take risks, and because they have this debt tying them down. So that's me. I wish it didn't head in that direction. Just for me, those 2 years in grad school were incredibly valuable to myself to grow and come out debt free to, in turn, like to take a risk and jump on a plane and see what happens. So that's me, though.
Understood there. I know there's a lot of different opinions on that, and still haven't figured out quite where I land. Last question before we wrap up. Jared, we'll start with you. What does being an athletic trainer mean to you?
Just a dedication to helping people, as to me, as simple as that. I feel like a near majority of what we do is outside the textbook, outside of, the special tests and all that stuff. And it's just like, how can I help this person in front of me? So that's why the international setting is so unique, is that we get such a variety of different things that walk through the door that have language hurdles, cultural hurdles, and just doing the best you can to be culturally competent, to in any way, shape, or form you can to help out the teacher, the athlete, the administrator, whatever it may be.
Yeah, like that dedication, like you were saying, Jared, it's that athletic trainer is that, facilitator of healthcare, that advocate for the athlete and you, and that liaison to really help the athlete and you reach those goals. I think that's what an athletic trainer is really like, I guess, a big takeaway for me there.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, if people wanted to connect with you, Caleb, we'll start with, and then Jared, we'll get yours. Best place for them to contact you, follow you, and we'll link all this up on the episode page.
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me, if you have any questions about international athletic training or working in an international school setting, you can reach me at Lott C. That's LOTTC at tas.edu.tw.
Perfect. Oh, you're muted.
We can crop that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zoom never fails to cause problems. Yes. So anyone can feel free to get to me. I'm a Twitter person, so at Jared ATC, or by email, Maisel, MAISELJ at isb.be. Happy to help. Also, I would encourage you to connect with the international committee. They have an ambassador program. So if any of the listeners are interested in a country specific, looking to connect with someone, they can get in touch with the international committee that can set up with the ambassadors abroad. And of course, APATS. The APATS, I believe on socials, they're on Instagram and Facebook, I believe. And otherwise, apats.org.
Yeah, and that Instagram, just to get connected to APATS, for all those that might be interested in just learning, just seeing the visibility, it's the Instagram account is APATS Society, but only just one S. So APATS Osity, I guess.
Gotcha. Again, we'll link those up so people can get quick and easy access to them for those. Well, thank you both for taking the time to do this. I know it was enlightening for me, just generally being aware of what's going on internationally, but this was awesome to hear more in depth about it. So I appreciate you both taking the time.
Yeah, our pleasure. And thanks for putting stuff out there. Oftentimes I mentioned earlier, we feel like we're on an island sometimes, just being over here, I remember one time there was only 4 athletic trainers in China, 1.4 billion people. And so how do you connect with people back home? And through podcast, it is a great way just to feel.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of Athletic Training Chat. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to be on the show, have anything you want to talk about, please hit us up on social media or fill out the survey we have on our website, athletictrainingchat.com. Again, we want to thank Mueller for helping us out and also partnering with our Throw a Lifeline program, where we donate any revenue we get from the podcast back to getting emergency supplies for athletic trainers. If you'd like to contribute to that in any way that you can, we would deeply appreciate it. You can check out more at clinicallypress.com/throw a lifeline. We'll see you next episode.